chips don't let the salad win.
Nicky Thomas, the magic little man, walking. Oh, he scored!
Ian Ross!
Bennett, and that's a second for Wrexham. Yes! David Davis! What a goal!
Conley! 1-0 to Wrexham.
Oh no, it is, and it's in the back of the net. Andy Burrell.
Williams! Ashley Williams for Wales! What a turn! What a goal! What a goal from Hal Robson, Cardiff!
Go and wake your kids up. Something special is happening here tonight. Wales are going into the semi-finals of the European Championship.
Juan Ugarte, Ferguson has definitely won it for Wrexham now.
And here's Mendy! There's that racecourse roll again! Saved! Saved by Foster!
Wilkinson's wonderful Welsh women have made history in Dublin.
Bale steps up over the wall. Oh, yes! Wales have done it! They've reached the World Cup!
Huge moment for Wrexham. Knox against Chamberlain. Knox for Wrexham! And there it is! Red delight! The Janeiro Adran Premier Champions of 2025-2026 are Wrexham Women AFC.
Mullin! It's him again! Champions! Wrexham are promoted!
The first team in history to eat more chips and not let salad win.
Hello and welcome to the Eat More Chips podcast, the official podcast, one of the most recognisable flags in the Welsh football supporters universe. Here with our new Thursday time slot until I change my mind again. Well, we've had a total eclipse in the UK today, which has panicked South Walians, to say the least, as they are hurriedly making human sacrifices to the great sun god as they think he's angry. And Wrexham are already out of one competition, and the season hasn't even started yet. So here to mop up the tears and delay our fears, it's Jamie and Daz. And Daz is fully kitted up, ready for the eclipse. Oh, it's you. Oh, good shame.
Yeah, I got to see it. It's fair play. Welding mask, worked a treat. But
I've got to ask, why have you got a welding mask?
Because I like dressing up on a Wednesday night, so it's good.
Leather chaps and a welding mask. That's all he wears.
Yeah, you can't see below this line, so that's just as well.
The only eclipse in my house was from a packet of Jaffa cakes.
I'm eating chocolate donuts as a thing, so yeah, that's my.
What a surprise!
Yep, that's a surprise. So hello, gents. Good to see you. Too hot, as usual. Sweating like a.
No, I've got the aircon on. It's lovely.
Oh, you went on about that so much. I'm like, I bought this air conditioning unit. It's going to pay dividends.
To be honest, I'm a bit chilly. I might have to crank it up a bit.
Oh, shit. Opening. We've had an email this week, gentlemen, from Marisol, and I hope I've pronounced that right, and I hope I have. Excuse me if I haven't. And it reads, "Hello, Welshtechie, Jamie and Daz. I'm a Wrexham supporter from Italy. Contrary to most new fans, I didn't find the club through the documentary. I found it through the YouTube algorithm during the last Euros in 2024. Last spring, I was really hoping I'd get to watch Wales versus Italy World Cup qualifier, but alas, we were as shite as we've been for the past 2 years. We feel that with you, because obviously we were thinking it was going to be a Cymru versus Italy final to see who got through to the World Cup. Anyway, I've been listening to your podcast since May 2025. I quite enjoy your content on Wrexham Women and the Academy. Please continue to cover both, even though Welshtechie, you have your affair pod now. Thank you very much. In the last episode, you said you're going to be in Cardiff for the first match of the new championship season. I'm going to be there too. It's going to be my first time in Wales and the first Wrexham AFC match to go to, and I'm quite excited. But it being on a Monday night, I was wondering if there will be any supporters gathering at a pub before the turnstiles open. Do you have any suggestions for Wrexham-friendly pubs in Cardiff? I hope to see you in the away end and say hi and thanks for all the laughs. Keep eating more chips and leave the salad to me. I don't mind. All the best, Marisol. Yes, we'll see. We'll hopefully see you there. Cardiff Wrexham-friendly pubs. No. I wouldn't imagine so, unless you're in the city centre, Daz. Maybe you could go to one of the city centre pubs.
Yeah, I would imagine there's a couple of the city centre ones that are pretty neutral and not that. They're not football pubs per se, so they'll probably welcome an away crowd. but there are some traditional stalwart Bluebird pubs as well.
Absolutely. I mean, anything around the ground area, forget. I'm going to be going to the Goal Five-a-Side Centre, which is about 10 minutes walk, because there is parking there, which I'm going to be parking at. They welcome Wrexham and Cardiff fans. I mean, this from your information, it's not kind of a full-blooded affair as it used to be, maybe in the 80s and 90s when the Soul Crew were at their highest power. The Soul Crew are the militant arm of Cardiff City supporters, let's put it that way. It's not going to be that bad, but it's still, you have to be careful. You do have to be careful. I'm certainly not going to be wearing full Wrexham colours, even though, you know, I've lived in South Wales for the last 25 years. So there are certain things that you do and do not do. But you Google the Goal Five-a-Side Centre and come and find us. And I know there are a number of the South Wales Reds that are going to be there. And it sounds like a lovely place. So, yeah, that's where I'm going to be. And with regards to the first visit to Cymru, nice place, Cardiff, isn't it, Dad? You live there. You've lived there since you were a wee one, since you came to Scotland.
Yeah, I've been here 34 years now. It's great. It's great. It's a very, I would say, very welcoming city. Really, you know, it's a big town. I always feel of it as more of a big town than a small city, because it's got that feel about it. It's got city status, and obviously it's got all the international thing, you know, whether it's stadiums and concerts and all of that. But actually, I've never felt it you know, it's never been an intimidating space for me at all. So yeah, I would say, come and enjoy. Say it's a very small, compact city as well, so it's easy to see.
For your first match, cracking match. It's going to be and we'll talk about it a bit later on. It's going to be an amazing atmosphere, and you know, it is a Welsh derby, not a local derby. It is a Welsh derby, and we'll take that from that point of view. But fantastic first game to go to. I think the only way is down from there for some other ones, from the point of view that you possibly be going to. But yeah, if you see me, I'll have my name on the back of my shirt. Come and say hello. And then we'll have some pictures taken and whatever, and we'll cover it next week. And thank you for your email. And of course, if you want to email, you want to talk to Jamie and Daz, who we'll do a voiceover for you for £10. Email us at emailchipspodcast, all one word, at gmail.com. And we'll read it out on the pod. So moving on, Daz, and the Football Association of Wales and new kit supplier Sudo unveiled the 2026-28 Cymru Home kit, first in a new partnership alongside the launch of the all-new official Wales store. After a 13-year association with Adidas, Sudo, who make the current Wolves shirt, have signed a, in brackets, lucrative deal, according to the FAW, for the FAW with the FAW to supply the shirt. According to the FAW website, 1 year in the making of this shirt, the kit has been developed in deep collaboration with all the FAW and first team players across both the men's and women's squads. Through a series of design workshops and fit sessions, the players themselves have shaped the fit, look and feel of the kit, ensuring that a performance-led design built around those who wear it. Authenticity sits at the heart of everything Sudo does, apparently. Rejecting templated and reused designs, the brand's commitment is to work hand in hand with the association and its fans to understand the DNA of the nation and bring real, meaningful stories to life. For the home kit, that story is history and heritage, acknowledging where Wales have been before moving forward, working in collaboration with Ymgeddfa Cymru, Museum Wales, and the Sudo design team honed in on the old age craft of Welsh double cloth weaving, reviewing the archival pieces that directly informed the final design. The result is a bespoke design drawing on elements of traditional Welsh tapestry, brought to life through an embossed finish within the Pro kit and rendered in a statement shade of iconic Welsh red. Heritage runs through the detail, and the back of the shirt carries a scroll bearing obviously the words Gorau Chwarae, Cyd Chwarae, meaning best players team play, and a principle stitched into the identity of Welsh football. Coordinated shorts and socks complete the look from head to toe. Costs: an adult shirt is £70 for the short-sleeved replica version, £75 for the long-sleeved replica version, and £90 for the short-sleeved pro version, plus £18 extra for you to put your name and number, or a name and number, on the shirt. And Shop Cymru is the all-new official Wales store, launched on last Friday, declaring the FAW's wider retail and e-commerce partnership with Levy Merchandising. The store will be the home of official and exclusive Cymru merchandise, including all technical kits and training ranges. Now, Daz, this one has split fan opinion to say the least, with some calling it, and I quote, the worst Welsh shirt in history. That's a high bar. That is a high bar. I have a number of them hanging up over here. Some of the ones are great that were on Twitter. I genuinely believe, said Daniel Sides, this shirt has brought fans of Wrexham, Cardiff, Newport and Swansea together in agreeing this is a massive downgrade and no one is going to buy it. And Ellis Slater said, class, now show us the actual home shirt. What are your thoughts on this little beauty?
Okay. So apart from the fact that I thought at first it was the fabric off Evans Coach's seating fabric covers from Aberystwyth in 1979, it's two camps for me. I don't mind the idea of recognizing the history, because you guys have done it as a training top, the purpley blue one.
Absolutely.
And it completely owned the pattern a little bit more, whereas this is trying to be too subtle, maybe. I don't know. But so I'd like to see it from a distance when it's being played, when it's being worn by the players. I'm sure it doesn't quite register in the same way. But the issue I have is, and I think I read about it somewhere else, somebody said something similar, is that if this was an Adidas kit with this pattern, I'm not sure there'd be so much kicking off. I'm not sure. That's a bold statement, but it's because I think some people are in a couple of the camps where it's bold, it's different. I like the fact that they say that they've involved players and playing staff, ex-pros, current team, all of that. So there's clearly they're happy to wear it. So let's accept that. I think most people have an issue with either not being Adidas, because being with Adidas was, I think, because that's the kit that the Argentinians wear. That is the kit that the Germans wear. That is a kit that says we are with the big boys.
Yeah, it's a certain amount of kit snobbery there, isn't it?
Yeah. And I do feel that showed something about our ambition, and I do interpret it. I can see that very clearly. So people want to stay with Adidas because it just felt, legitimately a big name for, and we therefore were on the right, a top table. Whereas I suppose Sudo, if you're going to go away from Adidas, there are risks. That's simple as that. I suppose they've gone quite the extreme version, which is to a kit that is relatively unknown, inexperienced, or certainly not widespread in terms of its use yet. And they've got teams you have to hope that this business can evolve and expand, and getting a national country kit was probably part of their mission. So what I do like about the fact that you've got this more bespoke feel is that this doesn't feel like a stock pattern that the Adidases have been in the most recent years. There was a time where you literally changed the colors and you had your Sweden one. You changed the colors and you had your Nigerian one, or whoever it was. I can't remember. So I think the fact that it's got some personality and individuality is going to be very positive. I think the fact that there are some people going like, Sudo, who are they? And they feel that they're going to mourn the loss of that. My main concern about being with Sudo is the distribution. Do they have the same level of distribution outlets and contact with your JD Sports and all other sports?
Well, I think that's why FAW have launched this new Cymru shop Cymru website, because basically you can go there and it's going to be there anywhere, and you can't go and put, it is going to be available, certainly the training stuff is going to be available still at JD Sports, and that's what I would imagine that the first team kit is going to be as well.
I hope so. It's just that because I think for a lot of people, they want to try it on. They want to make sure the sizing, especially with the new label now, is sizing the same. So I think people want to try it on. So the online thing works fine to a point. I do think a lot of people would like to wear them in person. I think because they claim that it is owned by the players and a certain amount of involvement, then they're the ones who got to wear it. They're the ones going to be seen on it. Will I be buying one? I do see. I'm waiting for them to go cheap, because I do like the green stripe, the white stripe across the middle at the moment with the centre badge. And when that becomes a little bit more affordable, I might buy one. On its way out, because I do like that one. and for a shame, really, because Adidas have had a couple of recent kits for us, which have been quite, really nice.
Yeah,
the yellow trim sleeve,
lovely. That was, really
that was a lovely one. So I think there have been some lazy kits, and there have been some good kits. But we've moved on. So this is the new future. So questions over the lucrative nature. They say a lucrative deal, but what does
no? Probably, arguably one of the most lucrative deals for a kit supplier that Cymru have ever had.
And in which case, then obviously as a business, as a chief executive, he's done a very good job of running the business, because Sudo have obviously decided to make Wales their flagship and invest the money and pay lots to try and get them more established, because they've got one Premier League club. Then if you get a national team, it's going to help their business model, and by making it individual to your club and individual to your country, they may get more positive responses. So I mean, seeing it now in that picture, it's because obviously that's a stylized, when you see it on people on the pitch, I think that's when it's going to really land for me.
Absolutely. And I remember, and this is how I associate often. I remember when we first went to Kappa, the spray on shirts, and loads of Cymru fans hated it, but we had such a successful time while wearing it. That's now passed into folklore as one of the top shirts. So I'm wondering whether, depending on how we perform in this shirt, will it suddenly go from I don't like it, it looks like a bus seat, to wow, what a shirt. And I think you're absolutely right, Daz, about if you took that Sudo badge off and you put an Adidas badge on it and a couple of stripes down the top of the sleeve, I think people would react very, very differently, because I think there absolutely are some shirt snobs out there from that point of view, because we have been spoiled with 13 years of being with Adidas, haven't we? Let's be honest.
Yeah, definitely. But of course, this is the first, the first kit. It'll be interesting to see what the other, like the away kits will look like.
It wasn't the one that was put on X, because that looked like an explosion in a paint factory.
The problem that you've got is, I think, is the cost as well. You're asking people to pay Adidas money for a brand that is very unknown. So I'm not saying that necessarily means the quality is going to be crap or anything else. You then throw into the mix a very fairly Marmite design, and you can understand why people are a little bit sort of turning their nose up at it a little bit.
I think this, as far as I'm aware, this is the first time we've ever sold a replica version and a pro version.
As far as I'm aware of, yeah. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I know that I came across that for the first time with the Liverpool kits in the Liverpool shop. You don't really particularly see them online, but you go to the Liverpool club shop at the stadium, and I went in, and there they were, and they were like a marked up 20 quid more for the kit. Now, let's say this is 70 quid for the, or 90 quid even for the pro version. I mean, the pro version of the England kit is about 135.
It is.
So if you're going to go like for like, they're all doing it. I think Scotland don't have the pro kit available,
no.
So their basic
kit is their standard is 75.
And we're 70. So in many ways, we are still the cheapest of all of these. But when you were paying for an Adidas, there was something.
Again, it's that perception, isn't it? Of it's Adidas, you're willing to pay that little bit extra, whereas Sudo, as Jamie rightly said, it's unproven. Jamie, as a Wrexham fan, obviously the blanket patchwork, the Cymru blanket patchwork is concerned. We've been there, done that. With regard, as Daz said earlier, with our training top, but this one isn't as in your face as ours was. What are your thoughts on this kind of shirt? Because you don't normally buy international shirts. You buy Wrexham shirts, but you don't really buy.
No, I don't really buy international shirts, because I'm still scarred by that Kappa one you mentioned, because I had one of those. And to be fair, I've got pretty big man tits anyway, but that made me look like I had like humongous tits. So
I got lucky. I was at a time when I was thin. I was thinner.
Well, so was I. But unfortunately, the excess skin I had, it also just made me look like I just had a tit job in Turkey.
I put mine on a few weeks ago, and I needed a bra. It was ridiculous. Yeah,
I bet yours looks like a boob tube. No, you're right. I mean, obviously, we did a version of this pattern on training kit last season, which, to be honest with you, was never my cup of tea anyway. It wasn't one I particularly liked. I don't really like this. It reminds me of my nan's tea towels, to be honest. It's not my cup of tea at all. I think what's really interesting about this is in the last slide where you showed that mock-up picture, it actually doesn't look too bad in that picture, but then when I've seen these pictures of it on players, I think it just looks awful. Again, it's unfair because I've not seen it in the flesh, but it you could get rid of the pseudo and put Timu on there for me because it looks terrible. I just think it looks awful. The quality just doesn't look very good, and it's not particularly a design that I like.
Well, I hate to say, but your opinion, Jamie, is shared by many, many, many Cymru fans. When you look online and you look at everything else, I mean, obviously they went to the mice because it was the National Eisteddfod this week. And they went to the mice and interviewed some people, and it was a very, very mixed response. Very positive from a young lad who was wearing a Wolves shirt. Obviously,
I do agree with what you've both said though about the fact that I think maybe part of the problem is that it's the pseudo, which is a very, very unknown brand. I think that's part of the problem. I think if you're asking, great point by Daz there about the fact that the player replica is probably still the cheapest of the international home teams, but realistically, how many fans are going to be buying those ones? Surely 90+% of people will just be buying the standard replica. And you say, what do you say, 70 quid for the short sleeve version, which is not expensive in comparison to football shirts these days. But I don't know, when you're asking people to pay that kind of money for a shirt from a very, very unknown brand and with a slightly controversial design, I can see why it's being met. And then the fact that it also got kind of released alongside that yellow thing you mentioned, which, like you say, I hope to God that isn't the away kit.
Apparently, according to Noel Mooney, it is a fake. And when you look at the picture, it's taken in exactly the same place as this one.
Thank God for that, because that yellow one looked horrendous. But
I mean, some people liked it because they felt it like a coat of arms kind of feel, but the colours were it looked like a goalkeeper shirt, one of those crazy goalkeeper shirts that we used to have years ago.
I mean, the only thing for me that would be interesting about this is what's the fit like. You and I in particular have spoken the last few years about sort of complaints about the Macron fit is not great for an average sized person. It'll be fascinating to know what this is like. But yeah, I'm not a big buyer of international kits anyway, so it doesn't really bother me. And it'll soon be forgotten, won't it? Once we're playing, and it'll soon be forgotten. It is what it is. But time will tell, I suppose, on the quality and stuff. But yeah, not for me.
The size I'll buy will be looks like it's just shrunk in the wash size. That's what it'll look like on me. Jamie, where Wrexham fans are concerned, particularly Wrexham fans in the UK, we are still waiting for the official release of the third shirt, even though fans in the US can already buy it. Now, we'll review it when it officially comes out. I'm not going to put any pictures on until I get the official kind of thing from the club. But why is it taking Wrexham so long to release it to everyone rather than just dicks in the States? And I'm not talking about the people who buy it. I'm talking about the sporting people.
It's another great example, isn't it, of where I think we've got a little bit of catching up to do off the field. I think the two kit launches that have actually been launched have been a bit piss poor this time around. And this third one has just been a disaster. Like you say, with Dick's Sporting Goods again releasing it before its official launch. And then, like you say, the fact that people can actually buy it is mind-boggling. I honestly don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know why they're getting it so wrong with kit launches. It surely can't be that difficult. But it's gone proper peak time this year, hasn't it? And I genuinely thought, obviously, as soon as it was all over, as soon as, like, if you remember last year when Dick's leaked the yellow one, the very next day it was officially released, wasn't it? Well, that was a few days ago, and it's still nothing official from the club. But like you say, there's people wearing it, and it's.
I wonder, and maybe this is me just being a bit mischievous, but I wonder if there's a supply issue, i.e., the States have got the supply, but we don't have enough in Wrexham to be able to launch it. Because obviously, we saw at the launch of the home kit that the launch in New York was very, very successful, and all the sizes were there, but the people in Wrexham queued up.
Yeah,
and then there were no kid sizes, which I think was just awful.
Yeah, I've not been to the club shop myself, but I've heard a few people commenting about size issues with the new kits in Wrexham. I mean, obviously that's going to go down like a fart in a lift, isn't it? If if North American people can buy any size and everything else. the crazy thing is that, again, from a business point of view, going back to Dad's analogy with the Noel Mooney with the Wales kit, from a business point of view, if they have got supply issues, I can kind of understand it, because they charge a higher premium for them, and the demand is absolutely astronomical in North America. So I can understand. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying it's right.
But they select these kits way in advance. So why is it taking Macron so long to produce what they know is going to be required?
I don't know. I don't work for Macron.
Why don't you know? You know everything, Jamie. You know everything. What am I thinking now? Yes, that's right. Donut. That's what I'm thinking now.
I mean, look, it's the kit launch this year collectively has been a bit of a disaster, and you do suspect that there is some supply issues. You get the feeling that it can't be much longer now that we stay with Macron and we move to one of the bigger suppliers. I mean, Macron are a huge supplier, but I'm talking your Nikes, your Adidas, your Puma,
hilarious.
We've
got a Sudo now, isn't it?
But it surely can only be a matter of time, because the demand must be huge for Wrexham kits.
Doesn't matter though, does it? Because they still can't seem to get enough shirts in to launch it at the same time everywhere for everybody. And I think, I'm sorry, and it's not as if this isn't happened for the first time. This has happened a number of times, okay? And I don't know what we're doing, whether we are, trying to, balance stuff, or just Macron being poor with whatever. But this is not acceptable. If we want to be a higher level Championship / Premier League club, then we need to start behaving like one. And we can't be doing things like this, because you wouldn't catch a Premier League side doing this. They would have everything mapped out, the full marketing side and everything. They would be absolutely clockwork, because they know the world's looking at them.
But we're left to speculate because we don't know and we've not been told.
That's right.
And it's disappointing. Like you say, until we officially see that third kit, it's hard to comment on it. I don't know. I mean, obviously we've got when's the first home game? A week on Saturday. Is Watford, isn't it? So you would imagine that they will be available, as in like full size selections of all three kits will have been launched and available for then, surely to God. If there isn't, then that's,
you'd like to hope so, because if they've not, that's a massive ball drop for me.
Yeah.
I agree. So Wrexham AFC kicked off their 2026-27 season with a trip to the Riverside to take on Middlesbrough in round one of the Carabou Cup. Phil Parkinson names a familiar starting 11. Danny Ward in goal, back three of Viner, Hyam and Doyle. Imre and Thomason on the wings. Matty James, O'Brien, Rathbone, Broadhead and Sam Smith. Okonkwo and new signing Ben Whiteman were on the bench. Bit of a mute point this one now, but I'm going to ask it anyway, because obviously we'll talk about the new signings a bit later. But Ward starting, Jamie, for you, was that a surprise over Arthur Okonkwo?
A little bit. I did think that Arthur might start, but then I wasn't overly shocked. It wasn't like a huge shocker for me, because I think Parky made his feelings very clear at the back end of last season, and obviously with now what's happened in the last couple of days, even more so.
We can stop the will they, won't they? Thankfully,
I
think podcasts are probably disappointing because they give them something to talk about. But I think every other Wrexham fan is probably quite glad about, to be honest with you, will they thing. Daz Nokakache, even on the bench as he felt he had a tight calf. Is he going to have a second difficult season? Because he missed such a huge amount. Lots of fans wanted to see him on that left wing. Then played in the World Cup, played 3 games in the World Cup, played pre-season from, I think, all the matches in some way. And then it came to the first kind of meaningful game and he's not even on the bench. I mean, is this an omen, or am I just being stupid?
No. Well, just at the end there, you said first meaningful game. Here's the question. Is it a meaningful game? And that's where I think probably if you've got a player who's got a tight calf, and you're right to point out that he's an important player or an impact player or a player that can make a difference for you. If he's got any kind of injury, and a tight calf is one of those where you just don't want to take the risk, then don't put him on. And clearly it was enough not to put him on the bench either. Because I always find that odd where they say, oh, he's not 100% fit, but we put him on the bench. Well, are you prepared to risk that injury at any point during the game? Then you're on the bench. Whereas it feels like this was a precautionary, right thing to do. And I would personally, if I was management, that would be the right thing to do. And as a fan, I think that's reassuring that he's being looked after and he's being kept for the season proper, because you don't want him to have a great first half of the game and then some point in the second half pulls it, and then you lose him for 6 to 8 weeks in the proper matches. So that's my feeling. Is you're going to talk about the selection and the team that they put against, but is this a first starting 11? Not quite, but it's pretty strong. But I'm not sure it was worth putting a player at risk in that way.
I mean, Jamie, he's admitted himself that the championship level of the championship was more demanding than was expected. He's come out and said that previously. You obviously called
Parky.
No. Kakachi himself. Yeah, he said that himself. I mean, Jamie, you called him crackers because in whichever way you want to take that is up to you. It's just a bit of fun, but whatever. But is this an omen? Is this an omen of what's to come this season? Because we kind of expected to see him last season. We then had to fall back on Thomason, who wasn't left winger. Luckily, he managed to transition and get in there. I don't think that's a game we can play twice, because I think the level is going up in the championship, and I don't know whether Thomason will be able to keep up. So we will, we would be looking for him to start. And the fact that, as Daz said, maybe you look at it from the point of view that it's not meaningful. And as Parky said, this was a advanced training game. But the fact that he wasn't even on the bench, is Parky just protecting him, or is this an omen?
I agree with what Daz is saying about, I suppose, if you look at it in isolation from the point of view of you've got a player who's, well, he described it as fatigue in his calf, didn't he? Which is an odd one. I've never heard that before, but that's how Parky described it. Calf strain, whatever it is. If you've got a muscular strain, I suppose, yes, fair play to the manager and the coaching staff for looking after him with a view to the Cardiff game coming up. However, I think for me, this, the starting lineup for this game, given that this was technically our last pre-season game, even though it wasn't a pre-season game, it was a Carabou Cup game. Parky had said very early on he was going to treat it as the last or an extension of the pre-season. As we've all seen over the years with teams pre-seasons, you generally tend to find the closer they get to the start of the season, the closer you get to your starting lineup. So, my gut feeling was the team that started this game, subject to transfers, was probably or should be the team that you'd expect to see start the game against Cardiff. Given that Kakachi played 3 games in the World Cup, he's played some pre-season minutes. The fact that we get to this game and, like you say, he wasn't even on the bench after what happened last season is a big concern for me, because it highlighted, the fact that Thomason obviously slotted back in at left wing back his position against Middlesbrough was great. He did brilliant there last season, but you are absolutely spot on. He's not a left wing back. He isn't. He did a fantastic job for us last year and deserves his flowers for the job he did. But he is not a left wing back. And as we've talked about a million times, the wing back is such an important part of the way we play. We have to have quality. And what this game ended up highlighting was the fact there was no Kakachi. Thomason didn't have a particularly good game, I didn't think. I thought Imre was really good for the 60 minutes he was on, but then as soon as we had to bring Longman on, it really, really shone a spotlight on something which we all knew, which is the wing-back positions are 2 areas we have to have strength and depth. And we're now a few days away from the start of the season, and we haven't really fixed. We've brought in Imre on the right, but we seem potentially still got this problem on the left, and we haven't really got any additional depth. So that is a bit of a concern. I am concerned because, he came in from a Serie A team after playing a full season. When he played, as we said last season, he's a step above anything else we have on that left side. He's miles better than Thomason as a left wing back. He was miles better than McLean as a wing back. But he's just he's not. He can't stay fit. What is the problem? I don't know. I'm starting to sort of wonder now. Is it a mental thing? Is it a mental thing that he's struggling to? I honestly don't know. But there's an issue there, and it's a little bit of a concern going into the start of the season. That he potentially is going to have another season like last year, and we haven't really added any depth to that. Certainly on that left hand side, could be a big problem.
Well, according to the Wrexham AFC website, Callum Doyle was straight into action in the 3rd minute. It was the defender's left-footed low-whipped cross, from which Ollie Rathbone stretched but could not quite make a clean connection 6 yards out. At the other end, Max Arfston crossed for Adelson Malanda just yards out on 7 minutes, but goalkeeper Danny Ward spread himself wide to make an instinctive reaction save. Jamie? 3 minutes in, I thought, this is it. We're in, because I thought he was going to toe poke it in, but he just missed. I mean, should Ali have scored that one?
Yeah, possibly. It was early in the game, wasn't it? But it was a good chance. It's so easy after the event to say, he should have scored. He shouldn't have scored.
I mean, great cross.
Yeah, it was a brilliant cross. It set the tone for the night, really, didn't it? Yes, you're looking for your players, whomever it is, to take chances like that, because as we learned last year in the Championship, you have to be ruthless. When the chances come your way, you have to be ruthless. And I think it was a missed opportunity, but it set an interesting tone for the game, really, because we were much more competitive in the game than I thought we were going to be, if I'm being honest, certainly in our first half.
Daz, some people are saying, oh my God, what an incredible wonder save by Danny Ward. Some people are saying, well, it pretty much just hit him because he just happened to be in the right place. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's a save. It's definitely a save. I mean, it's instinctive. It shows when you've got somebody like Danny Ward, who is actually a very good goalkeeper. He's had injury issues. He's been second fiddle to a lot of players, but ultimately he's a quality player, and he's played for us, for Cymru international. The level is all there to be seen, and I think that's where his movement. He's made a prediction. He's read the body language, and he's moved himself over. And yes, by the time he's got down to that position, it struck him. But you can see that he's made a concerted effort to put himself in that spot. So I think that's world-class goalkeeping, or at least world-class reading of the game, to give him as much chance as possible of saving it. Whether or not then the striker, the attacking player, should have done better. Underneath him, above him, because obviously at that close range, if it's over his shoulder, he's not getting his hands up close enough. No. Yeah. If it's going down low, he's not closing his legs quick enough. It's gone through him. So the fact that it's mid-drift and he gets himself behind the ball pretty decently. But I just think that's a quality goalkeeper doing arguably his job, arguably what he's there meant to be. But he does read the game very well, and I think that's the qualities you get from Danny Ward.
Jamie, I mean, Malanda was in between defenders. Nobody was anywhere near him. I mean, he shouldn't have really been in that position. I know it was a great cross, but there was nobody competing with him, so he had a free header.
Yeah, he did.
There were two Middlesbrough players.
Yeah, are you talking about the Ward? Are you still talking about the Ward save?
Yeah, the Ward save.
It was Lancashire that hit it. Landry was next to him, but I think it was Lancashire that got the final touch. Okay. When I watched it back, I think it was Lancashire that got the final touch. Right. Look, he was in the right place, wasn't he? I think if he touches that ball anywhere, either side of the goal, it's a goal. But ultimately he was in the right place, and he kept it out, and that's all I suppose you can ask your goalkeeper to do, is to keep the ball out of the net. So it has to go down as a decent save, but it was, even though it looked spectacular, I think it was a fairly easy save, all things considered. But yeah, the amount of space that the two attackers had was crazy. But it was good that he kept the ball out, because at least we weren't conceding a relatively early goal.
Well, Doyle was provider again on quarter hour as Imre nearly marked his debut with an early goal, but the wing-back at the back post couldn't not make contact. One of Middlesbrough major summer signings, Welshtechie, found Jeremy Sarmiento at the near post on 19 minutes, but after turning Don Hyam, he shot low into the side netting. Doyle burst out of defence to lead a counter-attack in the 31st minute, which resulted in a long and patient passing move. Hyam eventually played Imre in over the top, who showed a great touch and drove forward, but his cross was intercepted and Ollie Rathbone's low shot blocked. Broadhead slipped Smith in after a diagonal run from left to right in the 38th minute, but Solbrin saved the low-footed shot with his legs, and George Thomason fired the rebound over. Just moments later, another amazing Broadhead run was halted in the area, and Rathbone fired just wide when the loose ball was broke to him. Middlesbrough also remained a threat, however, and Callum Britton crossed to Lancashire at the back post on 41 minutes, who just headed it over. Jamie, 0-0 at the break. Wrexham holding their own, would you say?
Yeah, very much so. I think Middlesbrough. I think they looked very composed going forward, and they looked very threatening, but didn't really create loads of clear-cut chances. But equally, I thought we did look a threat as well. It was interesting to see the stats at half time because it was quite even. But on all counts, possession, which is unusual because particularly in a away game, it's quite familiar that we don't have as much as the ball, but it was fairly even, and as were the shots and attempts and stuff. We had some big chances in that first half. Obviously, the Sam Smith one was the most noticeable one, similar to the Danny Ward, I think, in the sense of you have to say fair play to the keeper. He keeps it out, which is what he's paid to do. But for me, that chance highlighted why I think there's this constant talk about us bringing in a superstar striker, because again, that's I think Sam Smith will have a great season this year. Yeah, but you have to take those type of chances if we have got aspirations to better what we did last season.
Well, we saw it in this game. Middlesbrough went out and spent 11 million plus add-ons for Will Lancashire, and he was nothing but a constant threat all night. He could have scored a hat-trick quite easily. The fact that it was his debut game, it probably meant that he was just slightly off target because he was probably pushing a little bit too hard. But that's what you get if you pay 11 million. And that's where we need to go. We can't be, spending. If we want to get out of this division, we have to spend the money, and maybe that's the way to do. I mean, with that, Daz, 2 minutes. This is what Jamie's talking about. Is 2 minutes after half time. Broadhead played a low ball for Rathbone to run onto. Passed first time to Smith. Smith then obviously 1-on-1 with the keeper, but Malanda blocked the striker shot. I mean, another gilt-edged chance. We've seen Smith, on good scoring form pre-season. But Wrexham have to put chances away at this level, surely.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I've seen the one in the second half. I saw the one in the first half where Broadhead diagonal ball through to Sam Smith. Is that the one?
Yes.
Yeah, that was the first half.
Yeah, that was in the first half. Yeah.
First half, yeah. No, I mean, you either you lift it, you sit the goalkeeper down, as they say, and you then play it past them or whatever. But it was a fairly innocuous, sort of pretty mundane sort of shot. There was no venom behind it, really, not like proper. What's your phrase, Jamie? Where it's like thunder.
Thunder bastard,
that one, yeah. It wasn't like that, and it certainly wasn't, top corners or placed in the top extremities of the goal. So you're giving the keeper a chance, really. But yeah, if you're talking about your front, whether it's Kiefer, Sam Smith, you don't have a 10 million plus player yet. Now, question is, do you have to have one? Do you But I think Jimmy's right. Aspiration, you need that little bit of magic. It's going to need something special, and consistency, because you've got some players there who can score goals. I mean, Rathbone had a strike from the edge of the box, earlier on. Should have done better. There are plenty of players who can score the goals. It's just you're not seeing them scoring them week in, week out. And Broadhead still, the jury's out for Broadhead from many of your fans, I'm sure. There was a glancing header that, okay, it was a tough one. Doyle pushes it back and he could have got a better hit on it, but there was no power behind it because there was no pace on the ball. So there are moments where you can see why these players are where they are, why the prices have been paid so far. But you are probably short. But don't, speaking as a Liverpool fan, if you put all your money in one striker, it doesn't always work out to your benefit. Do you know what I mean? All it takes is one injury, and 100 million is sat on the not even on the bench. I'm not saying you spent 100 million on your bench, but you know what I mean. But
the thing that worries me a little bit about it is the fact that, and I've heard a few Wrexham fans say this. Last year we didn't have a problem scoring goals, and I'm quite right, we didn't. Obviously, we had a problem keeping them out, and you can see, obviously, with what's happened with the goalkeeper coming in, the heavy rumours about us bringing another centre back in. You can kind of see where the thinking is, and I agree with that sentiment. My only concern is with the same players as we had last year, are we going to see the same return? And that's it's a $1 million question. That's the concern. I'm not sure. If you look at how Kiefer, the second half of the season was for Kiefer last year, it was a poor return. He was brilliant in the first half, but you think to yourself,
well, Windass was scoring all the goals in the last games, and he's not
exactly.
there.
But you can't rely on him to be your top goal scorer, can you? He's ultimately playing as a number 10, and if he's delivering double figure goal return, that's a great return. But you do, again, in my opinion, if you've got aspirations of wanting to get out of the league, whether that's automatically or via the playoffs, you are going to need a prolific goal scorer. And at the moment, I'm not sure we have that, because I don't see Kiefer Moore. Time will tell. I just don't see him getting double figures this year. And as much as I think Sam Smith could get double figures, I'm not sure he's going to be, an 18, 20 goal striker. But
not with the service that he was getting certainly on Friday night. He was picking at the bones, to say the least. There was a let off for Wrexham at the other end, just a minute after it's kind of 3 minutes into the second half. A rare straight Doyle pass went straight to Lancashire, but he curled his 18-yard shot over. Morgan Whittaker then cut inside on his left foot on 54 minutes, but the shot went well wide across the goal. But Borough eventually took the lead just after the hour. However, Lancashire acrobatically volleyed into the far corner when Berhalter headed a deep cross back to him. Jamie, on Lancashire, he was a pest all night. You can see where the money's spent. Could Doyle or Ward have done better to stop the goal, do you think?
I think there's a couple of things for me. I think first and foremost, credit the striker. It was a good finish. It was a good goal. It was a good finish. And like you say, he was a pest all night. He was, you can see why they've spent the money on him. You can see why he was so highly thought of by Tottenham. That being said, Callum Doyle was the best player in a Wrexham shirt by a mile, with most of what he did in the game. But I think he was fundamentally at fault for the goal, because he completely switched off and left Lancashire on his own. And with that, I think that's maybe been a little bit overlooked because of his performance for the rest of the game was so good, and it was outstanding. But I think he was massively at fault for that goal. With regards to the goalkeeper, I watched it back a few times. Would I expect my goalkeeper to save that? Probably, because it wasn't. It's not as if it was like a thunder bastard, if we're going to use that. It was hit well, but it wasn't massively at pace. If you look at the angle of it, I would expect my goalkeeper to save that, but that's not trying to go in double-footed on Danny Ward. And I'm not getting into the whole would Arthur have saved it, because that's irrelevant. We're never going to know that anyway. I think, look, you credit to the strike. It was a good finish. Poor defending from our point of view. And to be fair, it was coming. I think it was coming. They did start the second half better. but yeah, I think Doyle will be disappointed when he watches that back. And it was a bit of a shame, really, because that little blot was the only thing really.
He's great going forward, but I do think he has some questions to ask in defence from me.
Yeah, but that's probably why he's playing in the Championship at the moment, not in the Premier League. He overall, that one moment aside, overall, like I say, he was head and shoulders above.
Absolutely, but that one moment,
he was fantastic.
That one moment lost us the game.
Yeah.
If he'd have gone forward and provided or scored 2 goals, and we'd have won the game, then you could say, okay, well, we'll ignore the blip because we won. But that one mistake, cost the game.
But like I said, but I think that's why he's playing. Like I said, that's why he's playing the Championship at this stage of his career, not in the Premier League at the moment. But I think if he carries on as he is, if we can't get to the Premier League, it's going to be hard to keep hold of him long term. I think because I think he's destined for the top.
I agree. O'Brien was fouled on 20 yards out as Wrexham sought an immediate reply, but Broadhead killed the resultant free kick well over on 65 minutes. A terrible free kick. No, not even close to being on target. Borough substitute Carl Joseph played Lancashire on 70 minutes, but he shot over with his left foot. At the other end, Viner picked out Smith with a brilliant crossfield pass, but the striker volleyed just wide left-footed. Ryan Longman had replaced Imre for Wrexham just prior to Broadhead's free kick, and Phil Parkinson made further trio of changes on 72 minutes, including a debut for Ben Whiteman. Smith, Matty James and Rathbone all made way for Kiefer Moore, Ben Whiteman and Bailey Cadamartri. Davis Keeler-Dunn then replaced Broadhead on 76 minutes for Wrexham's final change. O'Brien shot goalwards on his right foot for 83 minutes, which deflected wide shortly after a passage of play in which Borough had been a man down for a minute in line with the new rules to prevent time wasting from substitutions. Whittaker was inches away from sealing the victory for Borough on the 86th minute after Joseph did well to complete a 1-2, but his strike cannoned off the near post. But Wrexham couldn't make any more chances and lost the game at 1-0. Jamie, disappointing, but not a terrible performance. However, for me, a lot of the things that I saw at the end of last season were repeated again in this game. They were the same errors and issues that I found. But that's just my take. What were your thoughts generally on the whole 90 minutes as a
I think you're right. I think it was very in keeping with how we finished the season. I think it was also a visual highlight of what we appear to be trying to do in the transfer market. I think the areas that we have either done stuff with this week or are rumoured to be looking at was highlighted in that game. Excuse me. Wing back, we've brought in Imre. I think, to be fair, it was said after the game that it was always planned he was going to do 60 minutes. I think he's still building his fitness up. I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was really good. He is definitely an upgrade on anything we've got already.
And that's the thing you said earlier, didn't he? He did 60 minutes and then Longman came on, and the drop off for me was
it was massive. It was massive. And, I think, Imre probably should have had a goal. That chance he had in the first half from the ball from Callum Doyle, he'll be disappointed with that. But I thought overall his game was good. He looks very quick. He looks like he wants to get forward, but he also, there was a couple of moments where, the defensive side of what he did was really good. So I'm excited for him, to be honest with you.
And he's got a bad boy scar, so
Yeah, but to be fair, he speaks very well. I watched that Wrexham podcast. He was on there with Ben Foster and Ben Tozer, and he speaks very well. He seems to have the right attitude. So I thought he was great. I think the highlights, players-wise, obviously Callum Doyle we've spoken about. I thought Broadhead grew into the game. I thought he actually, it's almost like as if a penny dropped for him sort of 20, 25 minutes into the game, and he was like, I can run at these people. And as soon as he started running at people, he was a threat. And that's what we've got to try and get him to do more. He is a huge threat when he does that. A big season for him. Big season. He was, I think, ultimately.
Well, hopefully now we've broken the club record again, and he's not the most expensive player Wrexham signed. Hopefully that monkey will be off his back and he can relax a bit. Because that's what he needs to do, definitely.
Yeah. But I think the question marks on the defence, you can start to see now a little bit more why this. A lot of us probably were scratching our heads a little bit about why we keep getting linked with centre backs. But you can kind of see it. It looks like Viner, who was obviously brought in January but never got a chance to really play in that position. it looks like that is going to be Parky's choice on that right-hand side. Is that fair on Max? That's a debate for another day. I think Max has still got a lot of room to grow, and I'm sure he'll get opportunities, but I think I can understand why Viner is going to be that choice. Obviously, Doyle on the left. Hyam, seems to be some question marks over Hyam at the minute, and I can understand why. I think for me, I think because when he came in at the back end of the transfer window last year, I think what he did was he settled down what was at that time an absolute catastrophe. Because obviously
wasn't it? Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
We had Conor Cody at the start of the season, which was just a disaster, and he came in and he steadied the ship. However, if you then turn the clock forward to the end of the season, we spoke about at the back end of last season, we did have a terrible defensive record. And if you look at some of the games, Hyam, I think Matt talks about it on Racecourse Ramble. I don't think he's necessarily as good as we think he is, if that makes sense.
We have to remember the last season we had the 6th worst defense in the championship. Yeah. The 6th worst out of 24. I think that as stats go, that for me says it all.
Yeah. So to me, I can understand why Parky is looking at another centre back. But I don't think necessarily Hyam did anything hugely terrible in that game. There were a couple of moments I think where he got done on pace and stuff, and we saw again that whole, if he gets turned, his default is to just grab a handful of the shirt and get a yellow card, which I guess you could say on one hand is sort of savvy experience, but you can't keep playing the game like that. The wing backs we've talked about. The one for me which went a little bit under the radar, which I didn't really see many people talking about, was I thought Matty James had a terrible game. I thought he looked so off the pace, and I thought when Whiteman came on, I actually thought he was more solid in that position. I thought he had more control over the game than Matty James did in the time he was on. Now, whether Matty James is still not fit or whatever, I don't know. I suppose you've got to remember that he's at the stage of his career he's at. Is he going to be first choice, or are we talking about a defensive central two of everybody being fit of O'Brien and Sheaf potentially? But I actually quite like Whiteman when he came on. I thought he was nothing flashy, but you could see instantly within minutes his natural brain is to be that holding defensive midfielder naturally. But unlike what a lot of the Preston fans seem to be beating him over the head about when he left was, I hope you like the ball going backwards and sideways. That's all he does. I actually thought the opposite. I thought every time he got the ball, and he showed for the ball an awful lot in the time he was on, I thought his instinct was then to look forward. But you
have to ask the question, maybe he had to go backwards and sideways because he wasn't given any opportunity to pass it forward because Preston up front weren't that good.
Quite possibly. But I thought Matty James struggled. He didn't look very mobile. He certainly didn't have an impact on the game like we're used to seeing him. Now maybe it was just an off night, so maybe not quite fit or whatever. I don't know, but I actually thought Whiteman made quite a big difference when he came on in that position. I like O'Brien playing in that deeper role. That's definitely a better position for him than in the forward role. But yeah, look, overall, I thought we were much more competitive than I thought we were going to be. And I think, even though the stats necessarily don't back it up, I think if you're being brutally honest, over the course of the game, it was probably a fair result, a 1-0 defeat. But I certainly, we didn't disgrace ourselves. And what was really encouraging was the fact that we did create chances. We did have some good chances in that game. So, disappointing, I think, that we've gone out of the Carabou Cup. I know Parky was very open and said from the start he was always going to treat it as a.
It's going to hurt those fringe players in the squad because that takes away the perfect chance for them to have anything more.
I said this a couple of weeks ago when we spoke about it. For me, it was quite important to get through because we've got such a big squad of players, and there's so many players now which they're just not going to get minutes.
By the day, Jamie, getting bigger by the day.
Well, I know, yeah, but no. Overall, actually, I thought it was a fairly decent performance. Granted, I don't think Middlesbrough are anywhere near as good as they're going to be. When they click, but
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was an alright. It was okay. It was an alright game.
I mean, Daz, many saying one moment of brilliance won this game for Middlesbrough. We didn't get hammered like some thought. But still, a lot of Wrexham fans doom scrolling on social media, to say the least. I mean, surely it's too early for that, isn't it? It's just
Of course it is. Of course it is. I mean,
surely.
Yeah, I mean, I think like we said this last week, it's odd that the first game of the season has been a cup game, and that means now you're over, you're out, because obviously there's something about a league game, the opening league game. You find your feet, you get a couple of games under your belt, then you have a cup game. It feels more fitting that way. So this all felt odd anyway. So you've got this friendly feel about it, not friendly, training game, preseason game about it. So I don't think you can read too much into it. I think you can read absolutely some strong performances. I think you're right. Imre looks like he's the business. Really, really like what I saw there. Not just attacking, but tracking back and clearing and getting rid of danger really sensibly and all of that. So he feels like he's got a lot to his game. So I think there's some positives there. I think you've got some players that are coming back from long seasons, injuries, all the things that come through. So you do need a couple of games to get properly settled in. I don't think you should really sort of measure a league season until you're at least 5 games in, because it's just too soon. It's just too soon.
I'm not a fan of the Carabou Cup game being the first game of the season.
No. I mean, it happened last time before COVID. Kind of, I think it was 2014 or 15. But no, I agree. It shouldn't be the opener, really. To be honest, it takes away from the competition. I mean, the good news from our side, Jamie, is Birmingham got through. Their game against Brentford is now going to be on Tuesday, the 25th of August, which means that the Friday night game, which at the moment is still on, that means that they will play Tuesday, Friday, rather than Tuesday, Saturday against us. So that might help us from that point of view, whereas obviously we'll have had the rest because we're not in the competition anymore. So maybe that's a positive from that point of view. Maybe I'm just looking.
I was going to say, you're clutching at straws, I think.
Yeah, glass half full. I'm following Daz on this one, Dan. Now, in the Eat More Chips podcast, it's time for today's newspaper, tomorrow's chip paper, where we catch up on Cymru and Wrexham football news. First up, Wrexham Academy opened their league season on Saturday, hosting Grimsby Town Youth at Darland and beating them 5-0. 2 goals from Jack Jones, an own goal from Grimsby, and goals from Wes Graham and Cian Nolan sealed the 5-0 win. Their next game is this Saturday, the 14th of August, away at Chesterfield Youth. Wrexham men had a behind closed door friendly versus Wigan on Monday at Colliers Park and won 1-0 thanks to a Davis Keeler done goal. We don't know exactly who else was playing in that game. And as we record this on a Wednesday, Wrexham women are currently playing a friendly versus Liverpool women under 21s at the AXA Melwood training ground behind closed doors as part of the second half of their pre-season friendlies. Jamie, busy week for all parts of Wrexham AFC. Great opening win though for Wrexham Academy.
Really good. Really good. It's a win is always a good thing regardless, but a 5-0 win is a great way to start, isn't it? It's it's going to give some confidence and a good a good boost for the start of the season. Maybe this one they'll go better than they have done the last couple of seasons. We seem to have a few good kind of prospects in that team. So it'd be interesting to keep tracking them really, and to kind of see if any of them break out. And as we've said a million times, it's so crucial for the future of the football club and the way we're going to operate that we do start having a bit of a conveyor belt, and some of these younger players actually progressing and becoming stars of the first team. So yeah, a 5-0 win to start season is brilliant.
Rumours are that Harry Ashfield is going to sign a contract extension this week and then is going to be loaned out. So Wrexham obviously have got faith in him, and obviously he's come directly from the academy. So yeah, that's exactly how you want to go. As the season begins, the transfer merry-go-round continues as Ryan Hardy is left on a season-long loan to Bolton Wanderers. Hardy, 29, signed for Wrexham from Plymouth Argyle last summer and scored once in 10 appearances before ending last season on loan at Huddersfield Town. He scored twice in 6 appearances for the Terriers, but has his season curtailed by injury in March. Having recovered, however, the Scottish striker will now head to the Tough Sheet Community Stadium to play with the newly promoted Wanderers for Stephen Schumacher, who he played under at Plymouth. And joining him at Bolton today is defender Lewis Brunt, who was signed on a permanent deal with Bolton Wanderers. According to the Wrexham AFC website, the 25-year-old departs Racecourse Ground after 2 seasons, which included our promotion from League One in 2025. Brunt won promotion from League Two alongside Wrexham in 2024, while on loan with Mansfield Town from Leicester City, and then signed for the Dragons that summer. He made 29 appearances in all competitions as we secured an unprecedented 3rd consecutive promotion and appeared 12 times last season. Brunt scored once in his 41 appearances for Wrexham. So, Jamie, it's been a tough 12 months for Ryan. A lot of people thought he was going to be the next Paul Mullin, and it didn't turn out that way at all. It's hardly featured, barring that goal that he scored in the Carabou Cup last season, which was an absolute belter. Didn't really manage to get any more breakthrough from that point of view. The best move for him right now, do you think, going on loan to Bolton?
Going somewhere, it was the best move. I think it's just not worked at Wrexham for him, has it? I think you probably do have to look back to the signing originally and maybe ask some questions about did we rush in? Is this an example
it was the very first signing, and it was very early in the window. And yeah, definitely.
Is this an example of why we leave it later in the window now? Because we don't want to repeat this sort of scenario. I can understand. Yeah, I can understand why we went for him. He was kind of a proven, a proven striker in the Championship. But I think it's just not worked for him at Wrexham. I think him leaving was inevitable. I think it's a loan because probably, Bolton can't afford to buy him and probably can't afford to pay the wages that he's on in full. So there's probably some sort of deal whereby we're covering some of the cost, and that's the only way we can do it. But he's off the books for the season. Look, I suppose from the point of view of the fact that he's still technically a Wrexham player, I hope he has a good season, in the sense of, because if he has a good season, then it gives you the option to say, well, is there any future for him at Wrexham, or he adds value to himself, which means hopefully you can get something back for him. Because let's not forget, we did pay a fee for him, which was several £100,000, if I remember rightly. And
it is a Championship club, so he is playing at Championship level. So if he does start knocking out of the park for Bolton, then I go, okay, well, he's either a saleable asset because his value will go up, or can we then put him into our roster and start scoring goals for us? Which I don't think.
No, I can't see it, to be honest with you. I think I don't think
he's in a way that is sympathetic to his type of game. To be really honest with you.
Yeah, no, I don't think we play to his strengths. But then we've not really seen. We've not really seen a lot of him, have we? He had a couple of chances at the start of the season. Obviously, that one in the first game against Southampton was the most noticeable one. And then, but like you say, he scored that worldie against Preston in the Carabou Cup, didn't he? So, I'm glad he's got to move to a Championship club, because I think he is, he is of that level. The fact that he's gone on loan, I would like to think, I would hope to God that we've put some sort of clause in there that he can't play in the 2 games against us. That'd be a very Wrexham thing to do, where they've maybe overlooked that and he'll go and knock a goal in or something.
For a hat trick past the new goalkeeper.
But look, I don't see any reason to wish him anything other than the best, because he's done nothing wrong. It's just not worked for him. Unfortunately, it happens, doesn't it? Sometimes it doesn't happen. So I'm glad he's we need to see some players going out of the door. As much as we're clamouring for players to come in, we need to see some players going out the door in whatever form that takes. Whether it's loans or permanent. So all the best to him. Hope he has a good season.
It was a very sliding doors moment, that Southampton, because if he'd have scored that, you wonder that whether that would have kicked his season on, because his confidence would have gone through the roof, because we would have drawn that game then rather than lost it. And interesting, absolute sliding door moment from that point of view. Daz, many fans were tipping Lewis to stay because some felt he could be useful as a backup for defence, because obviously he's been injured, but he's a very, very good player, and many thought he can compete at this level. However, he's left on a permanent, not a loan. He's sold. He's gone. Does this change Wrexham's outlook, do you think, with regards to getting a centre-back? Because as Jamie said, there are strong rumours that Parky is out there looking for a centre-back. Does this then put the pressure on to say, well, yes, absolutely, now Wrexham need a centre-back because Brunt has gone?
Yeah. I mean, you need one. My hope for you, and I'm sure you say this all the time, is that he's probably got something up his sleeve ready to go. I don't think you let a player like him go at this stage without a plan. Now, whether or not they can execute the plan and deliver that new player, whether it's one player or two.
We've got Connor Cody. What's the matter with you?
Exactly. They, maybe preseason has been very good for him.
Go to America.
I feel that you don't let a player with certainly a versatile player like him go on a full just at this stage without having some sort of hot irons in the fire. So I would feel assured from seeing what he's done previously that that's all in hand. Of course, we all know what the transfer window can be like, and that's not a given. Now, whether or not there are any other factors, unhappy that at the club, fallen out with coaching or playing staff, or reasons to just get out. There are sometimes things behind closed doors that we don't know about. I'm sure you guys would have heard something otherwise. So it feels like it's with blessings because there's a plan in place. So watch this space, I imagine.
Well, Connor Cody's going to get transferred to the media department. I've heard that. And let's be honest, Jamie, this is the first player I think we've sold in 3 or 4 years. Actually sold, got money for, rather than paid off and then has been gone in on a free by somebody else, or as just end of contract. I mean, it's probably pennies, but at least you've got some money.
It's something that we need to get a lot better at, isn't it? As a football club, we've got to move away from this scenario where we're giving extensions to players and then a few months later, seemingly they're surplus to requirements. We've seen it all too often, and still even fairly frequently.
An extension in January, February.
Exactly. Yeah.
Why?
Exactly. Why? Well, I don't know. I mean, you'd hope that what's the lad, the guy that's coming in, the football technical director, Steve Nixon. You'd hope that he will get a grasp of things like this, and this will be better, because I think going forward
until the window's closed. So
apparently
he's probably looking at this with distance, going, "What are you doing?"
But a couple of weeks ago, you were talking about the fact that sometimes you've got these players that have been caught out by your promotions and stuff, and all these contracts were longer than perhaps you were feeling comfortable with. But if you don't have longer ones, you can't tie people in. Or
I'm not saying. No, I get it, Daz. I'm not saying it's right. It just seems to be that of all the clubs, we are by far and away the worst for it. We are very, very generous.
You're right. I think the ones that are more of a problem are, like Si's just said, the fact that, like, was it March this year, we gave extensions to Dobson and to Rathbone. It just felt very reactive because they were performing reasonably well at the time. Now, I'm not saying they didn't deserve, because obviously with the new contract will come better remuneration. So I'm not saying they didn't deserve that increase, but from a business perspective, you think to yourself, why would you give extensions at that point of the season when you need to get to the end of the season? Where are you going to be? You're going to, if we were in the Premier League, if we had got promotion, no offence, but Rathbone and Dobson wouldn't be anywhere near the squad, and that is potentially a question that's there now, because I think Dobson, like you say, he's been rumoured to be potentially going. Rathbone.
Well, David Keeler is another one. We signed him in January.
Yeah, exactly.
And there are strong rumours that he's going out the door. I mean,
for as good as overall the transfer business has been, far more hits than misses, there are big question marks over elements of what we do with player contracts and things like that. But I think the brunt one is, like you say, it's great that we've sold him and actually made a profit on him. I think there's rumoured to be £500,000 or something, isn't it? Which is in comparison to what we're
pay toilet rolls at Wrexham now.
No, but in all seriousness, going forward, it is something we're going to have to get a lot better at, because
absolutely. We can't do this forever. You can't just dole out money forever, because eventually SCR is going to get you.
Well,
Whether you like it
exactly.
or not.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know.
So we need to get better. The Brunt one, though, is specifically the Brunt one. I'm a bit disappointed. I can't help but think there is something more or less a done deal, because I'm flabbergasted that we would let Brunt go, keep Scar, keep Hyam. Cody looks like he's going. I'd be flabbergasted that we'd let Brunt go if we haven't got something else kind of more or less a done deal.
Well, maybe he went to Parky and he said, "What am I going to get first team football this year?" And Parky went, "No." And he went, I need first team football.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next thing, which was a point Daz made, which is spot on. What we don't know is we don't know behind the scenes. He was never going to be guaranteed first team football, and if that's what he wants, and you can understand at the stage of his career that he's at, you can understand him wanting first team football. The fact that he's been able to secure a move to another Championship club and get a 4-year deal is good security for him. I'm disappointed to see him go, because I actually rated Lewis Brunt quite highly. Yeah. I thought he a very, very good player, good defender. He's had problems with injuries. Very good.
Scored against Chelsea that should have been given, even though he was a toenail offside. But what a header! Back post, came on and was super sub. Yeah, great.
But like I say, he very much goes with well wishes. I hope he does well and he can stay injury free. And like I say, I just hope that the fact that we've allowed him to leave means that we have got something pretty much done and dusted and ready to go. Because I think of the centre backs that we still have in the stable, I think he was underrated, if I'm being honest, and has definitely got more potential to grow than Hyam is at the back end of his career, Scar's at the back end of his career, Cody has been a disaster. Outside of that, what else have you got? Max, Callum Doyle, and Viner. So yeah, let's see. But good luck to him.
Yeah, absolutely. And as one goes out, another comes in, as Wrexham AFC are delighted to announce the signing of goalkeeper Anthony Patterson from Sunderland for an undisclosed fee, but reported to be starting at £8 million, pending a 4-year contract with the club until the end of the 29-30 campaign. The 26-year-old made 169 competitive appearances during a 17-year stay at Sunderland, helping secure 2 playoff final promotions to the Championship and the Premier League. A product of Sunderland's academy, Patterson made his senior debut in the EFL Trophy against Fleetwood Town in November 2020, under current Wrexham boss Phil Parkinson when he was manager at Sunderland. And near ever present across 3 seasons in the Championship for the Black Cats, including playing in their Championship playoff final win against Sheffield United in 2025, where he made an incredible save against the Kiefer Moore header, which go and look at it on YouTube. It is that is a fantastic save. Doesn't matter what people say about Danny Ward's, and I agree, Danny Ward's was a great save. That save against Kiefer Moore in that Championship final, and with the pressure, was incredible. Patterson then signed on loan for Millwall in the second half of last season. He helped the Lions to a 3rd place finish, making 16 appearances in all competitions. On the international stage, Patterson made his England under-21 bow against Japan in June 2023 under head coach Lee Carsley. The shot stopper lined up against Wrexham this summer when the Red Dragons faced Sunderland in the final game of the US Tour at Philadelphia Subaru Park. And he has previously, while on loan at Notts County, played against Wrexham in our 3-1 loss in 2022. So, Jamie, the will they, won't they is finally over. This finally puts to bed the ballad of Arthur and Danny. Daz, I'll ask you, take your opinion in a second, because obviously Premier League and everything. But from your point of view, lots of people are saying, why are we spending £8 million on a guy when Arthur is good enough? That's speculative whether he's good enough. Why are we signing $8 million when we have Danny Ward? Is this the right move for you? The fact that Parky has gone, let's spend £8 million and let's get any keeper who is proven Championship, has gone up to the Premiership, has gone from League One all the way up, has played so many times in the Championship. He is a proven keeper at this level.
The important thing for me with this is, regardless of anything that I say now or anything anybody has already said, the important thing with this is the decision the football club has made. They've chosen...
Dog poo on standby, everybody. Dog poo on standby.
No, they've chosen to get a new number one. They've invested heavily, big in a new number one. This is our new number one, and we need to get behind him. You know, what we can't afford to do as a fan base now is if he makes a mistake, we can't get on his back and Arthur wouldn't have done that, Danny wouldn't have done that. We can't afford to do that. This is our guy now, whether we agree with it, whatever our opinion is, this is our guy. I'm quite happy with the signing. I think he's a good goalkeeper. The bit I found really, really interesting about all this is I've read lots and lots of comments from Sunderland fans in the last few days. I think the universally loved by Sunderland fans. They're very grateful for the part that he's played in their journey to where they are today. Seems like a cracking, down-to-earth lad. All brilliant. The bit which sort of pricked my interest was the fact that there seems to be a consistent pattern in what he is. Fantastic shot stopper, distribution needs some work. That to me is what we have with Arthur. Arthur, I think, is a fantastic shot stopper, but his distribution is poor and needs improving. I think it was very evident last season, wasn't it? Parky made his mind up at the start of the season. You know, the fact that he brought Danny Ward in and started the season with Danny Ward was pretty telling for Arthur's career. Obviously, Arthur ended up getting the majority of the season because of Danny Ward's injury. But the fact then the last crucial four games of the season, he brings Danny Ward back in, that's pretty telling. Now, obviously, what we don't know is we're not privy to what goes on behind the scenes. We have I don't believe for 1 second that Arthur is the sort of person or personality that he's going to be awkward or, you know, not trained well. But we don't know that, do we? Because we're not privy to that information. But for whatever reason, Parky and the coaching staff have decided they need more than what they think Arthur is giving them and can give them. I suppose there's a question mark over Arthur. Has he improved the areas that we all can see and have seen that he needs to improve on since he's been with us? Has he improved on them? Probably not. I don't really see his distribution has improved massively. His commanding of the area for such a big guy hasn't massively improved. His communication hasn't massively improved. His shot stopping is second to none, always has been. So I guess if that's the reason, because they don't think he's developing at the rate he should be, fair enough. But the bottom line is that the people that matter have decided this was a move we needed to make. And therefore, we have to respect it, agree with it, and get behind him. I've seen lots of clips of him. Like you said, that save against Kiefer Moore in that Championship player final was out of this world. Unbelievable. I think
it's the occasion that gets me. The fact that it's a fantastic save, but this is in a Championship playoff final at Wembley. The pressure is massive, and for him to pull that save off from Kiefer Moore, who we know what an absolute lethal predator he is in front of goal. Amazing. I mean, it'll be fascinating, obviously, to see what happens now with regards to. You're going to assume that one of the existing three goalkeepers that we've got. I'll ask you that question in a second.
As far as Anthony Patterson goes, I, from a personal point of view, I would have loved to have seen Arthur back because I think he has got potential. And I think if he leaves, it could be something we regret in the future. I don't know, but I'm not against this at all. The fee is irrelevant to me. I think the transfer market is off its tits at the minute. So the fact that we've paid £8 million with potentially 10 with add-ons for a goalkeeper. Yes, it does seem crazy.
It smashed the club record. Absolutely smashed it out of the water. So.
I mean, it's still mind-blowing as much as we keep saying it. It's still mind-blowing to think we've dropped £8 million on a goalkeeper. Yeah. But look, it's not, and I don't mean this in a not caring way. It's not my money. It's not the football club. The people involved in sanctioning this deal obviously feel this is a good deal for Wrexham Football Club. So that's on them. Cool. The only thing I ask, and from this goes for me, you, and every other supporter that goes to the games and watches the games, get behind him. Get behind him. If he makes a mistake, and he will make a mistake because goalkeepers do make a mistake. But the last thing we need to be doing is if he makes a mistake or if he does something, if the ball goes back to him and he shanks it out or something like that, the last thing we need to be doing is getting on his back. We need to get behind him because we need stability. If we want to seriously get out of this league and get promoted, goalkeeper and striker are probably the two positions on the pitch where you need stars and you need stability. And I think, that this puts to bed the debate between Arthur and Danny. Let's get behind him.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Daz, very experienced keeper at this level, very experienced keeper, but not cheap. Some have said we've got Arthur, we've got Ward, we've got Callum Burton, which is arguably probably the best goalkeeping team in the Championship as a team, without kind of taking it a number one. But there has been this constant thing of who actually is number one. Is it Arthur? Is it Danny? There's obviously something going on. The fact that Arthur has got a year left on his contract, and
I was about to say,
nothing been as announced as yet. And the fact that Parky, as Jamie rightly said, put Danny Ward in at the beginning of the season, put Danny Ward in at the end of the season, put Danny Ward in on Friday. Is this a shrewd move by Wrexham to basically say, do you know what? I'm just going to throw the money on the table, get the player that we want in that position, and let the dice be damned, because we are going to stamp our thing on this? Or is this reactionary to try and shut people up?
I don't know if they're that worried about shutting people up. I don't think that's the decision here. But for me, I think you're right. This does feel like an Arthur 2.0. I do think it's a slightly better version. He is arguably, I think I read somewhere about something like 74% shot stopping, which is one of the best in the country at any level. So he is a proven, possibly you're saying Arthur is a brilliant shot stopper. This guy could be on paper even better. So why not upgrade? Do you need to spend that kind of money to do that? I can get your nervousness about, if you've got this money, then why not spend it elsewhere and be more frugal? And
the question some are asking, just hold your thought for a second. The question some are asking is, we've got Arthur, who is a great shop stopper and isn't very good at whatever, and he's already on the books. We could have taken that 8 million and we could have bought a decent striker and a decent left wing or right wing back for that money.
But I think
that would have got us more goals than replacing Arthur, if that makes sense.
Do you think you've given him time to improve? Jamie alluded to it already. Has he improved as much as they'd hoped? I'm not sure he has. I think he has been good and he has stayed good. I'm not entirely sure if he's the excellent goalkeeper that perhaps the great hope was. I don't, it feels like there have been a couple of mistakes. There have been a couple of issues. There have not been just the handling errors. Was it Swansea game and things like that? You just think I haven't seen enough of Anthony Patterson to know if he has those same errors, because of course whenever you look at the highlights reels, they don't really bundle together all the drop balls and things like that. So but what I have seen was an amazing reel. I think it was the Sunderland's farewell reel. They've said thank you, put his best bits together, and there are some fantastic shots in there. His reaction, he gets down low for a big guy. He feels a bit more of a unit. There's a little bit more to him than Arthur, which might help in crosses.
He's 5 inches shorter, and you wouldn't know that.
No, it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like it. But I think he's proven he's got the leg speed, the reactions. He has played though, and you've said this several times. He has played a lot of games at Championship level, and he has played in a very successful team and got them. He was part of the team that got them to the. Let's just say this: he has helped them win promotion.
Absolutely. I mean, he got unlucky because of the fact is that they went and then got a better keeper for the Premier League, which meant he would then sat on the bench. And this is Parky's MO, isn't it? He seems to go for, particularly in the Championship, experienced Championship League players who have been here and done it to basically.
But he's done it at Wembley, so that's a test of nerve and the bottle. So that feels like a proven safe ground as well. He's played in the Premier League against some of the best in the world, and from what I saw, he's done pretty decently. So all of those things are in favour. The thing that I think. You've both mentioned the fact that Arthur and Danny, the debate. I mean, they've both got 1 year left on their contracts, and I think that's probably the underpinning bit of information that we don't know enough about what's going on there. Now, Arthur may well already have gone into the management and said, what you did to me last year with Danny was out of order, or I'm not happy about that, or please explain. I feel like I'm owed an explanation. And if he's turning around and saying, well, I'm not interested in a new contract, if that's what you think, if you think Danny's better than me, then clearly I'm no longer wanted here. I want to move on. He's probably in a better position to do that than, say, Danny Ward. Danny Ward, I feel, is like very comfortably going, I've had a really long, successful career. I want to be at a club that's pushing. I want to be at the club that's got ambition. But I don't think he's going to be able to command the career move that he wants.
No.
Probably not. Probably not. So the fact is, if you're going to move somebody on, it may well be Arthur wants to go anyway. In which case, swap him for somebody else. Okay, it's going to cost you an extra 7 or 8 million more. Once you've got all the add-ons, it says 10. So, say the fact that you sell Arthur for a couple, it feels like this is a move that's preparing for a change afoot. And I think you're right. You've got one of the strongest 3. I don't think you're keeping all 3. Or 4.
Well, now 4.
Yeah.
4, yeah.
So I think this is about positioning yourselves for a change that's coming down the line. Whether or not it's the value for the money, is it enough of an upgrade so that it gives you some mileage ready for next year? Well, Sunderland thought so. Parky obviously rates him, and there's a connection there already. He's played against Wrexham in the States as well. He plays.
Maybe it does, though. The advantage of the other advantage of this is it will now stop the debate. Full stop. Anthony Patterson is the number 1.
Well, yeah, it will start the conversation like that, but results will stop any of this, and until you get a few games down the line, nothing is going to change. I think Jamie's right. You've got to back him, but as soon as results start going against you, whether or not he's to blame or whether or not it's the back 4, back 5 that are not protecting him enough, and he's keeping you in games for longer than all of the things that come with good goalkeeping performances, but a poor defensive performance. The results. It's a results-based game and industry, and until you get those games under your belt, you won't know that.
And that is the bigger question, isn't it? The fact is, he can't stop the goals on his own. He has to rely on the people in front of him to also do their jobs, and that some might say has been a bigger problem, as in our defence has been too easy. And you also need a defensive general in there, absolutely shouting, and I don't think I see that all, the footage I've seen, and it's not coming from the goalkeeper either. And I don't think this guy does that either. From what I've seen in the footage at Sunderland, he's not a big shouter, and if you look at his interviews, he's got a little bit of a personality bypass, I feel, but I think that's more to do with the interviewing itself, because they're crap questions rather than him himself. Apparently he loves a kebab, from what Sunderland fans have said, so expect to see him in King Street on a Saturday night after the games, I would imagine.
There you go. The best signing of the year so far then, for the Wrexham economy.
For the kebab economy, yeah, definitely. So Jamie, Arthur obviously is a fan favourite. Danny Ward can't seem to do right for wrong. Many Wrexham fans, for some reason, just don't take to him. Don't know why. Even for the fantastic stuff he's done for Cymru, they just don't take to him, even though he's a Wrexham lad. Where does this leave now the goalkeeping team? Who's going to stay? Who's going to go out of the 3 who are remaining? Because as we've said, you pay 8 million for Anthony Patterson, he's going to be number 1. That's it. So who's going to be number 2 and who's going to be number 3? If all of them stay or go, maybe all of them will go. We don't know.
I mean, common sense tells you Arthur will go, because I think he's in the last year of his contract. There's obviously no chance he's going to sign another contract. Whether one's even been offered to him, we don't know. Daz is absolutely spot on.
I mean, you don't think he would stay to be number 2, do you?
Well, bear with. So what we don't know is whether one's been offered to him and he said no, or whether, like Daz said, he's gone in and said, look, I'm pissed at the way you treated me last year. There's no chance I'm going to sign a new deal, whatever. He has at least got some resaleable value to him. I don't think we get a huge amount for him, I'll be honest. But I've heard people talk about 2 or 3 million quid. I think if he had 3 years left on his deal, yes, he probably is worth 2 or 3 million quid. I think with a year left on his deal, I think if we can get $1 million quid for him, we'll be doing well.
That would be
which would still be a profit, because we didn't pay a fee for him. I think the question is, can he get himself a move, or can a move be generated for him that is good for Wrexham and good for him? It's got to be good for both parties, because Wrexham might have 2 or 3 clubs lined up ready to pay what Wrexham want for him, but if he doesn't want to go, they can't force him to go.
No.
And he might be sitting on a lucrative contract, and he might think to himself, do you know what? I'm still only 24. I'm going to see out the last year of this deal because it's worth X, Y, Z to me. And then next summer, I'm free to do whatever I want and go wherever I want.
I was going to be sitting on the bench anyway, so I might as well sit on the bench. And
he might. That's the thing, though, isn't it? If he digs his heels in because he doesn't want one of the moves that's on the table for him, then he may not even be sitting on the bench. He might just ride out the last year of his contract, take his money, play in the reserves, and leave it as that. Common sense tells you that it would be best for all parties, I think, if Arthur went, because I think if Arthur goes, the club can get a fee for him. He hopefully gets a move that he's happy with, and probably deserves. He's too good to be sitting on a bench, to be honest. He's too good to be sitting on a bench, and then that would then leave us with Danny Waters. Danny Waters, our number 2, and you assume Callum Burton is happy as a number 3 goal, or content as a number 3 goalkeeper. He obviously got a bump in his deal, didn't he, last year? I believe he's not long opened a coffee shop in Shrewsbury, I heard somebody say the other day. So logistically, it makes sense for him to sort of be in the area. If his role, his job is to go to training 3 or 4 times a week, do his work, get paid a decent amount, and then be ready if he's called on. I think we'd all be happy with him as a number 3 goalkeeper. That's what I feel is the most likely outcome, but I suppose we'll have to wait till the end of the transfer window and see, won't we? If Arthur does have a move that ticks boxes for both parties.
Well, there are strong rumours, aren't there, that Derby County are interested in him, and obviously that would be a move sideways to the Championship to a fairly decent team. Derby County, I mean, many people are saying they're kind of mid-table, but they ran with us towards the playoffs last season. So,
I think all he'll want is a chance to be a number 1, isn't it?
Yeah,
because I think in his mind, he's not getting that chance at Wrexham to be a number 1 in the Championship, because last season told us that. This year, clearly, he's not going to get that chance. I think he is Championship level goalkeeper. Whether he's top end Championship level goalkeeper, I don't know. It's a whole other debate. That is. I am a bit disappointed, because I like a lot of fans. I do like Arthur. I think he's done far more good than he's done bad for us, albeit I do accept if there is a thought internally that he hasn't developed as much or as fast as he should have in the last 3 years. I do understand that sentiment, because the parts of his game that we've all seen and all been critical of haven't really seen much improvement. So yeah,
that Nottingham Forest penalty save in the shootout was fantastic. So yeah, thank you, Arthur. But as Jamie rightly said, now we all need to get behind Patterson. Whatever happens, get behind him, because it's irrelevant now what we say. We just need to be behind the team, and him in particular. Throw open the doors and scrape off the mould. It's time for the chip shop. Jamie and Daz are standing ready to unload their sacks of knowledge. Sorry. Let's have a look at let's have a look at this week's predictions, shall we? Wow, how close is that league? Finally got the team names as well. Daz is this season Full Metal Jacquet. Why have you called your team that, Daz?
Full Metal, it's jacket, mate.
Jacket, dickhead. Full Metal Jacket.
You spelt it Jacquet, didn't you?
No, but it's spelled Jacquet because that's the name of our new defender. He's.
I see.
You're not across the Liverpool players then.
Full Metal
I'm not.
Jacquet.
Not at all. But that's how you say it, because it's French. It's Jacquet.
I'm not sure, but I think in the world of Scousland, it'll be jacket. Pretty sure.
Jacket, mate.
Jacket, mate.
Jacket.
Jacket,
lad.
Keeping up. It's better than Full Metal, shell suit or something.
Oh, Hold that dog food for Jamie. Send it to Daz. Thanks.
No. I'm okay up there. It's okay.
Anyway, what's with your team name, you traitor? What's that all about?
Yeah, thanks. Well, the gentleman here chose this name for me, and I thanked them in the usual. I don't want to be the Jack Army. I can't think of anything worse. And obviously, Jamie has picked Windass the league. Obviously, last week's predictions, Jamie predicted Middlesbrough to win 2-1. I predicted Middlesbrough to win 2-1. Daz predicted Middlesbrough to win 2-0. Middlesbrough actually won 1-0. So we all get 2 points because we correctly predicted that Middlesbrough would win. But nobody hit it on the nose to get an extra point. So it's all square. And look at this. Jamie is exactly where he belongs, bottom of the league, exactly where he should be. And Daz is at the top. So everything has kind of righted itself as this new season starts. But there's still all to play for. Did I mention that? Still all to play for. So into the fryer tonight. A dish I'm not sure anybody wants because it's not very palatable. It's Cardiff City. So while the rest of the championship gets to make a roaring start of the season, we bring up the rear as we open the 2026-27 league season at the capital of Cymru on Monday, the 17th of August, kickoff 8 p.m. BST versus Cardiff City. Long-running rivalry dating back to the 2nd of November 1935, where Wrexham lost 2-1 in the Birmingham and District League to Cardiff. 78 games later, they meet again at this level for the first time since 1981. Cardiff were relegated as Wrexham came up to the Championship 2 seasons ago, and they finished runners-up last season in League One. But Wrexham and Cardiff did meet in the 4th round of the League Cup at the Kairas, where Cardiff won 2-1. A very, very poor performance by Wrexham, with the Wrexham goal scored by Kiefer Moore. So far, Cardiff haven't sold any players, but have bought in goalkeeper Nathan Trott from Copenhagen for £1.5 million and attacking midfielder Jack Moylan from Lincoln City for an undisclosed fee. They opened their season with a 3-2 win over Swindon Town last week in the Carabou Cup. And the chips are done. So, Jamie, first proper game of the season and a tough test for Wrexham, this one?
Yeah, it's on one hand, it's a very exciting way to start the season, isn't it? But on another, it's probably possibly the worst way to start the season. Look, it's a massive game. It's a massive game. It's a shame that it's on a Monday night. I think I've seen the post from the club, was it earlier today or yesterday, about the fact I think they sold 2,500 tickets, which for a Monday night, for a 7-hour round trip with no trains back after the game is bloody good. I think if it wasn't for the fact that it had been moved to a Monday night, I think it would have sold out.
This was a Saturday afternoon.
And some of the shite I've seen posted about the fact that we've only sold 2,500 tickets is just absolute nonsense. I think it'll be a great atmosphere. Cardiff will be right up for it, won't they? Packed house from their point of view. They're back in the Championship where they believe they belong. Obviously, we use the term derby very loosely because I know we get a lot of shit for it when we call it a derby. I think everybody's got their opinion. For me, it's a Welsh derby. That's my interpretation of it. It's not a derby in the sense of any locality, but it's a Welsh derby. There are 4 teams in Wales, and for me, if one of them plays each other, 4 league teams in Wales. If one of them plays each other, to me, it's a Welsh derby. And it's always, for me, it always will be. So yeah, it's a Welsh derby, and therefore carries a little bit more, a bit more stank on it. I think for me, the added little kind of caveats to this game is the fact that I think from Wrexham's point of view, we finished last season as the best team in Wales. I think, we have seen great success over the last few years, and I think we will want to kind of show why we're the best team in Wales at the moment. I think we also have some wrongs to put right from that game you mentioned where we were terrible against them at home in the Carabou Cup. So I think Wrexham will be up for it. If you look back at the 2 the 3 games last year against Welsh opposition, we were told before every game by Parky that it had been drilled into the players how important it is to the fans. It certainly didn't look that way. Certainly in the game, the away game to Swansea and the home game to Cardiff, it certainly didn't look that way. So I am fairly sure that Parky will have absolutely drilled it into these players. Obviously, the nucleus of the team is very similar to the team of last year, so they now have a year under their belts of a bit more knowledge of what this means to the fans and everything else. I think we will be up for it. The unknown to this is how up for it Cardiff are going to be, and they are going to be right up for it, aren't they? They're going to come out of the traps. I think the only kind of saving grace and the major thing potentially going in our favour is, from what I believe, they've got a bit of a defensive injury crisis at the moment.
Yes.
So that may or may not be a good thing for us. But yeah, first game of the season, such a big game. It's a hard one to kind of to call, because we've got nothing to gauge with regards to what kind of form are they in first game of the season. I mean, hopefully it'll be a good game. It'll be a good game with a Wrexham win will be a good outcome. But yeah, tough one to predict, to be fair.
Daz will be boarding up his windows in preparation for Wrexham visiting the capital.
No. But the thing is, I picking up on that rivalry. I mean, I was talking to the kids earlier. I'm a Welsh football fan, so I will follow all 4 of the league teams. There are more teams in Wales, but there are 4 league teams in Wales, and I will follow them all with interest, because I am from West Wales, so Swansea has a certain particular interest for me. I live in the south, so Cardiff particularly. I was a season ticket for 1 season with Cardiff because I wanted to watch season football, like live football with my son. No, it was the Championship, but it was the year they got to the Carling Cup final against Liverpool. So I got a ticket to that game at the wrong end. And then, but my son wanted to watch live football, and I was able to do that every week, and that was fantastic. And then, of course, there's Newport, who I have friends who support Newport. I have seen them play, but of course, there's yourselves with Wrexham. So I have interest across the board.
That's all my condolences to him, will you?
Absolutely.
Fans that are Newport fans.
But I feel like, the rivalries that we have, I mean, forget the one that you have for Cardiff. I mean, obviously Cardiff only ever care about beating Swansea, and I still don't get why that kind of level of literal hatred is necessary, because it's not in my nature, it's not in my character to be like that. But when it comes to rivalry, of course you want to be the best in Wales, because you have this privileged position of being 4 teams who sit outside within and without this whole the English system. So there is something distinctively different about the 4 of you. And so you do want to have that one-upmanship, but I don't understand why it has to be so venomous, why it has to be so toxic.
Because we're the best team in Wales and they can't accept it. That's why it does, obviously.
Well, I mean, you say you're the best team in Wales. I mean, we
won the most Welsh Cups. We have. That's a fact.
Yeah, when you had to beat like Aberystwyth and Bangor and Hereford. Hereford was in that tournament back in those days.
The oldest club in Wales.
Okay, but in reality, they shouldn't have ever been relegated last year.
No, they shouldn't.
The year before. So,
this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, they're a very young side. I think I've got a lot of time for Brian Barry Murphy. I think he's a very, very good manager.
Very good.
I am surprised he's not been poached by a higher championship or maybe even a lower Premier club. I'm very surprised, because he has that thing about him about bringing in young players and watching them bloom.
I'm not sure there was enough Premier League position. There was a lot of changes in the Premier League, so don't get me wrong. But I think all of those changes were looking for established or more seasoned, or at least, it certainly has some sort of credibility at that level, or the highest level in the league they've been playing in. I don't think there was an opening quite right for him this year. Championship side, you can ask yourself, why go from one championship side to another, though? He's started a project, he's built it. I think he's being backed by the owners, and the fan base is, and I will say this normally, is pretty good. Now, Cardiff, and this is, I'll be careful because I do have neighbours,
Oh, sorry.
No. But they can be very fickle. I mean, you guys can sometimes feel a bit put out by, when attendances are up and down, people coming and going and international. The numbers at the stadium, when Cardiff are doing well, it's a bouncing place. It's full, if the interest level dips, I know from last season, there was, low attendance, but of course it was League One. Why would you want to be paying that kind of money for League One? If you're used to Championship as your baseline and you've had experience of Premier? The attendance at the game at the weekend against Swindon, I read, was something just over 6,000, which in a stadium of 33,000 plus, that is poor. So then they don't back them when they're not, when they think they're not interested, then they can be a little bit fickle. But when they are there and when they are backing them, they are there in present. Their presence is really felt, and so I do think that will give them the advantage of the home game, assuming everybody turns up. And I think because who you are. You may want to chant you're only here for the Wrexham, but there is some truth in that. I think it will have been a wake up call. To the sleeping fans who have not perhaps backed them.
So just to clarify, you're calling Cardiff fans wankers?
A group of them.
The thing is, they've opened up the top red seats apparently, which they haven't opened up for a long, long time. That's how
red seats.
Well, red is their colour obviously now because. Yeah. They sold their history when they had new investors, and they changed their badge and they changed their shirt color. So
I think when they've got 33,000 there, it is pretty bouncing.
Oh, I mean, we know, don't we? Because we go to the CCS for Cymru games, and when it is full, it is a bouncing place to be. And I feel, but back to what Monday night is going to be, it's going to be
make no bones about it. It'll be packed. It'll be full from a home perspective. It'll be packed out. And it'll be noisy. They'll be right up for it. It's going to be nothing but, and that's that's then a challenge for the Wrexham players, isn't it?
Is that going to convert into a good game of football, or is this going to turn into a scrappy, kicky, nasty derby?
I think Cardiff are a much better footballing side than people give them credit, because there was a time they were a difficult, gritty team. I actually think what I've seen at the end of last year, they were by far the most fluid team that was in League One. I know that was League One. They've already shown a few promises of that. I mean, the way they played through Swindon at the weekend.
Saleh looks absolutely unstoppable. I mean, what a player he is.
So they've got some great young players, like you said. They've got a young manager who's dynamic. There is a real vibe around the city. If you talk to fans who are optimistic, season ticket holders and people like that, I know a bunch, and there is a genuine optimism that they are going to be competing this year. Now, whether or not that means promotion, of course, they're not. They've been stung before. They've had their fingers burnt in this situation where their too big a club to go down 2 years ago was you only have to look at Leicester, you only have to look at the Portsmouths and the Southamptons and the whatever in the previous years. They're not too big a club, so they now respectfully, I think they've got their house in order. Vincent Town was trying to sell. He's now decided to take it off the market. I think he's backing them. I think he's putting a manager in place.
Well, I think his eBay account was closed down, so he couldn't get sale on. I think that's what it was.
So I do think they will play, and I think that's going to be quite tricky. I think you're going to find a very challenging team to play against. Now, whether or not the needle is in there because it's a Welsh derby, there'll probably be a few. Well, what do they call them? Not set. Those first tackles that you get in where it's about settling nerves and reminding people where you're at. There'll be a few openers like that.
I would imagine they'll want to lay their mark on fairly early because a lot of Cardiff fans consider us to be upstarts, and who are we? We're come from nowhere. Think they're reading a little bit of a weird history of Welsh football, but we'll leave that. That's what they want to believe. That's entirely up to them. But I would imagine that they'll want to leave that
in their lifetimes. In their lifetimes,
absolutely, yeah. And we can have a short memory as well if you want, but that doesn't work that way. I'm afraid history. It doesn't go well. I can only remember 10 minutes ago, so that's all. That's history, is it? We actually look at it all the way. Just saying. Jamie, highly likely no Josh Windass for us. Even if he was fit, there's no way he would be match ready. Obviously, we've had a few new players now coming in. Do you think we'll see any of the new starters starting? Obviously, like you said, that team against Middlesbrough is probably going to be the core of who's going to start against Cardiff. But how many of the new signings do you think we're going to see? Or changes?
Two. I think Imre will play, and I think Patterson will play. I know it's a huge game for him to come into the team, having not played. But as we spoke about before, he's got big game experience. That Championship playoff final is arguably there's no bigger game in football than that, and he's played in that game. So again, I just don't. I know Parky's got a little bit of history with certain players in the past where he likes to bed them in over time, but I just think it's such a significant signing and such a significant investment. I would be very surprised if he doesn't start the game, to be honest with you. So I think
of pressure to put on a guy who's been in the club.
I would be more surprised if he doesn't start than if he does. But yeah, so I think Patterson will play. I think Imre will play. I don't think Whiteman will start the game. I think he will. Sheaf's not going to start because, like you say, he's not played in any pre-season. So even if he's fit, he's not going to be match ready. I think he will probably go with Matty James. Like I say, it's a big game for Matty James if he starts because, like I say, I didn't think he was very good against Middlesbrough. If I'm being brutally honest. But yeah, I think Patterson in goal. Other than that, I would expect it to be that team that started against
Wrexham.
Again, who knows with Crackers? Whether he's fit or not. If he's, at the end of the day,
can't call him that. You can't call him Crackers. You can't call him because what if Daz is right and it is something that is in there. You can't say that.
Okay. Well, glass bottle then. If he, look, I'm tongue in cheek, but
I know you are. I know
there is a serious point to it, which is the fact that whether it's mental or physical, whatever it is, we have to get to the bottom of it because he is the best player we have in that position.
Yes, absolutely.
So hopefully, if he is fit and he's got over the fatigue in his calf, which is such a random thing, I've never heard that before. If he's got over his fatigue, if he's been able to get some sleep to his calves, and he's ready to go, then yes, I would love to see him start because he's the best we have in that position. But my gut feeling is it'll be Thomason. So the other question was up front. What will he do? Will he go with it being Cardiff and obviously the connection to Kiefer Moore? Will he go down that route? I just think Sam Smith at the moment is the best option we have up front. It's only him and Kiefer Moore really we have as striker options. Now Hardy's gone as well. Calamartri's been played as a 10 in pre-season. So I think he'll start with Smith. So yeah, I think Patterson and potentially Kakache will be the only changes to that Middlesbrough team. Would be my expectation, but we'll see.
Daz, that's a question for you, to be honest. I mean, obviously Kiefer Moore is an old Cardiff player. Scored against them in the League Cup last season when playing for Wrexham, but he's not in fantastic form. Do you play him up front instead of Sam Smith because of his physicality?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's necessarily the tactic you need right from the top of the game. I think that's an option that you can bring on, and we know that from a Cymru perspective that's something you can do. And he can run, but I think what I've seen so far, and I think the goals, or at least the form that Sam Smith's been in, he's earned his place. And I think the style of play that he chooses to play, I think working off Broadhead or somebody like that seems to be, showing a little bit of potential. And so I think you keep doing that. And I think that the game against Middlesbrough was an example of that working. And I think you stick to it. I don't think you just completely flip it after one less successful version of it. Admittedly, you tweak and change depending on the opponents. I don't think Cardiff is that kind of team. I think you're probably better off trying to play this tactic at the moment. And if it doesn't seem to be making an impact, then who better to bring on? I mean, just the reaction from the crowd, would be something quite it could trigger a response in a way that they're not just his presence on the pitch in terms of stature. So I think he stick with Sam Smith.
So time for the salt, vinegar and sauce score. Jamie, what's your score prediction for Cardiff City versus Wrexham?
I am going to go for a 2-1 Wrexham win. I've been on the fence for quite a while with this one. There was a time where I was thinking we'll lose it because I just think it'll be, they'll be on cloud nine back in the Championship. They're at home, big crowd behind them. But the fact they've got a few defensive problems, and I must admit I was encouraged by our performance against Middlesbrough. I'm hoping that the mentality will be right from our guys. I think they're going to have to ride an initial storm, and Cardiff will obviously come out of the traps very fast, and they'll potentially have to ride that out. But I think we can win 2-1.
We've not scored in the last 3 games. Just saying, Daz, what's your score prediction for Cardiff City versus Wrexham?
See, I've been toying between. You're not going to like me for this. A draw or a Cardiff win, because like you said, I think that home advantage could be the difference. I think they are playing a very attractive type of football.
Mm-hmm.
I had a look at all the bookies, as many bookies as I could. Most of them have got Cardiff down as the favourites.
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple that have got the draw down as the most likely outcome. So it's just trying to see where because it's hard because we haven't seen them play. We haven't seen, this is the first game of the season. So what are we basing it on? A cup game that nobody wanted to win. So or less important game. So it's a really hard one to base it on any form, but Cardiff have won 4 games in a row. I think you've lost 3 in a row now.
Yes.
I think so.
Liverpool, Sunderland, and Middlesbrough, though.
Yeah, who are they? I mean,
nobody.
Liverpool, under 16s and Szoboszlai. You see, every part of me wants to be positive for you guys that it's going to be a 1-1 draw.
Go with your head, not your heart, Daz. You should know that.
Well,
he's taunting you. Look, he's taunting you.
Well, I mean, both.
You never did this to us. You never ever flaunted the trophy.
No,
you just
I don't.
Put it in the toilet where it belonged and left it there.
You're going to see this every fucking week.
In the post edit, can you put a black box over that? Whatever it just is, it's like So anyway, no, but the thing is, you see, both of my versions are different to Jamie, so we're already going to have an outcome here, one way or the other.
Yes.
That's right. I am going to give you some ammunition to prove me wrong next week. If I am wrong, I'm going to go for a Cardiff win, 2-1.
Traitor. And I, well, you live there. You've got to protect yourself, I suppose, and your property and your family. I am predicting a 2-2 draw.
You're going to the draw. Oh, there we go.
I think that absolutely Cardiff will have the advantage being at home. I think Wrexham will really need to get up for this game. They really will, and that will include taking the chances that they create. They don't have a problem creating chances at all. Don't have that worry. My worry is them turning them into goals, because that's been the problem the last 3 games, is turning them actually into goals. I think Cardiff absolutely, Jamie's absolutely right. They will come out all guns blazing to start because they will want to make a point. They will want all the last 12 months of hurt where Wrexham fans have tried to taunt them saying that, enjoy League One and all this kind of stuff. They will want to make a point. And so they will come out all guns firing. It's whether they can continue it across 90 minutes. Now, we saw, obviously, at the Kairos last season that they could, even though we took the lead, they came back. Luckily, Dylan Lawler's injured, and they do have injury problems. Having said that, I think they will, because of their home advantage, I think they'll have enough, and I think it'll end up being a 2-2 draw. So, there we go. Let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And we'll look back at this game in next week's pod. So there you have it, another one in the pot and ready to be thrown in the bin. Next week, we look back at the trip to Cardiff Land and look forward to Wrexham women's 2 home friendlies versus Watford and Wolves, and Wrexham men back home in Kairos as they take on Watford for the start of the 26-27 home season. As Maria Soul did this week, please feel free to email us at 8morechipspodcast, all one word, at gmail.com, or leave us a comment, query, or question on whichever platform you consume our nonsense. We'll happily take your questions are your comments and completely ignore them. No, I'm joking. We will always answer when we ever begin anything. And talking of nonsense, my thanks, as always, go to these two reprobates. So thank you, Des.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Jamie.
My pleasure.
I've been Welshtechie, and until next time, come on, Cymru, and come on the town.
Clinton! 1-0! Durkin plays the ball in, and Kieran Durkin, amazingly, has given Wrexham the lead!
Omari Hutchinson facing Arthur Okonkwo. Saved by Okonkwo! These dreams keep getting wilder.
Is it through to Bellamy? Kate Bellamy has 2-1 Wales!
And that's it! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are the FA Trophy winners 2013!
Barker goes ahead! And Wrexham take the lead. As things stand, Wrexham are champions.
And it's cross, great ball! Equaliser! Elliot Lee! The Eat More Chips Podcast!